It's Thursday, the 9th of July, 2026, and today's Arsenal news cycle has that unmistakable summer transfer feel. One potential statement signing gathering momentum, one quietly sensible squad move, and one emotional goodbye that might still be the right call. Let's start with a headline that will get every group chat buzzing. Bruno Guimarães has reportedly told Newcastle United he wants to leave St. James Park, and more specifically, he wants Arsenal. That's a big shift. Up until now, the story has largely been Newcastle digging in and insisting their midfield leader isn't for sale. But when a player makes his preference explicit, the whole balance of a negotiation can change overnight. Arsenal, for their part, are said to be ready to push harder, with a deal up to around £60 million being talked about. Earlier in the summer, there was an approach below that, apparently verbal, and Newcastle knocked it back. They've been consistent in saying he's not on the market. The question is, do they keep that line if Bruno is actively pushing for move? Or do we get to the part of the transfer saga where a not for sale becomes not for sale unless... If you're wondering why Arsenal would be willing to go that high, just look at what Bruno has been in this league. Since arriving from Lyon in 2022, he's been one of the Premier League's most complete midfielders. Relentless running, real biting duels, but also the ability to create and dictate. He's not just a ball winner, and he's not just a passer. He's a connector, the tempo setter, the guy who makes a midfield feel alive. The numbers back up the influence, too. In well over 100 league appearances, he's chipped in with goals and assists at a rate that's impressive for a central midfielder, and he's done it while carrying genuine leadership responsibility in a Newcastle side that lifted the Carabao Cup in 2025. That matters, because Arsenal aren't shopping for potential anymore. They're shopping for players who can handle pressure, win tight games, and live inside a title race without shrinking. And age-wise, it lines up. At 28, Bruno isn't a project. He's a ready-made upgrade. Someone entering that sweet spot where experience and physical peak overlap. For Mikel Arteta's midfield, you can immediately imagine what he adds. Strength, intensity, technical security, and that competitive edge that elite teams are built on. Here's the big takeaway. If Arsenal can actually get this done for around $60 million, it could end up looking like one of the smartest deals of the summer. Premier League proven, prime age, high character, high output. And if Bruno is genuinely driving the move, Arsenal suddenly have much stronger leverage than they did just a few weeks ago. Because it's one thing to negotiate with a club, and it's another when the player is effectively telling everyone where he wants to be. Now, while that story is the blockbuster, Arsenal are also moving in a very different lane with a goalkeeper signing that's more about squad architecture than headlines. Illan Meslier, formerly of Leeds United, is reportedly close to joining on a free transfer after leaving Elland Road. He's 26. He's expected to complete a medical, and he'd come in as experienced cover behind David Raya and Kepa Arrizabalaga. This is one of those moves that might not get fans singing in the streets, but it makes sense when you zoom out. Meslier has played a lot of football, over 200 appearances for Leeds, and while his form has had ups and downs, there's no question he has genuine Premier League miles in the tank. And the clever part here is how it affects the goalkeeping pathway. With Meslier added as a reliable option, Arsenal can be more confident about sending Tommy Setford out on loan. Instead of spending a season watching from the bench, Setford gets a chance to play senior minutes, make mistakes, learn, and come back sharper. That's how you develop a young keeper properly. Through games, not training sessions and occasional cup cameos. On a free transfer, it's also low risk. If Meslier finds a level he showed when he first broke through as one of the brighter young goalkeepers in England, Arsenal suddenly look very well stocked. If he doesn't, the financial downside is limited compared to the fees clubs usually pay for experienced Premier League keepers. And then we get to the bittersweet part of today's updates. Leandro Trossard. Reports say Arsenal have reached an agreement with Besiktas for the Belgian, with the move expected to be worth around €20 million. If that goes through, it'll feel like the end of a chapter that produced a lot of important moments, goals, assists, and those clutch contributions that fans remember long after the season finishes. But this is also what the top end of the game looks like. Teams that want to stay at the top don't stand still. They refresh. They evolve. And sometimes it means moving on from players who are popular, reliable, and genuinely liked. Not because they failed, but because the squad is being reshaped for whatever the next step is. There's a hard truth in elite football. Sentiment can't be the plan. If Arteta and the recruitment team believe they need younger legs, more pace, or different attacking profiles to raise the ceiling again, then difficult exits become part of the process. Trossard leaving as a Premier League champion will be a fitting way to go. And if his sale helps fund a truly top-tier addition, Arsenal may look back and see this as painful but correct business. So that's where we are. Bruno potentially turning a strong Arsenal side into something even more dominant in midfield. Meslier as a smart, practical piece of squad building with one eye on development, and Trossard possibly heading out with appreciation, while the club keeps moving forward. This summer is starting to feel decisive, not just about adding talent, but about shaping a group that can handle title pressure again and go deeper in the Champions League. If Bruno really is on the table, the next few weeks could get very interesting.